crawler-type tractors hauling sleighs are the freight trains of the North. Trains that can take huge consignments wherever men can break a trail. And winter trails can go anywhere once the lakes and rivers are frozen. Thus, no part of Canada's north is too remote. Good equipment and experienced men are needed for tractor freighting, backed by a well-planned organization. Months of preparation are required for a big freight haul, and needs must be anticipated well ahead of time. Since the winter freighting season lasts only about 90 days, careful supervision is needed to minimize delays, especially on operations like this Sherridon to Lynn Lake freight haul, where nearly 50,000 tons went over the winter roads during 6 consecutive years of operation. Every freighting job starts from scratch when the ice is safe for travel. Then, guided with perhaps nothing more than a wandering line on a map, competent men can survey a route, prepare a road, and proceed to deliver the freight to anywhere in Canada's far-flung north. Aeroplanes, which have done so much to open Canada's Northland, provide the best means of carrying out preliminary surveys. To be examined later. The choices finally narrow down to one. Back on the ground, a man goes through on foot to blaze the trail whenever timber is encountered on the crossover from lake to lake. Not far behind is an axe gang working to open the right-of-way. A bulldozer takes over the heaviest work, then clears the stumps away. Making the final choice of route is a job for a man whose judgment has been sharpened by at least a few years of experience. Mistakes at this point can bring disaster later. But once the trail has been located, the first task is to mark it. For finding that trail again across open lakes in bad weather or after a blizzard often proves impossible unless it's properly marked. Small spruce trees regularly spaced along the right-hand side of the trail are the standard markers. At least 12 inches of solid ice is needed before it's considered safe for the average sort of equipment and load on a freight haul. The only way to be sure of the thickness is to drill a hole and measure it. There are hundreds of lonely miles for the man who's locating trail, but two-way radio keeps him in touch with his main base. The bombardier is also useful for packing snow on the trail. Ice beneath packed snow freezes quicker and to greater thickness. Approaches to portages are given special attention because of the tendency for snow to pile into deep drifts at the shoreline, thus creating a heavier blanket for the frost to penetrate. When Sherridon Mines decided to move from Sherridon, Manitoba, to the scene of a new discovery of nickel 160 miles north at Lynn Lake, there began a tremendous effort in winter freighting. Everything was needed for a new mine and a new town, so a great variety of freight began to pour through the yards at Sherridon. All the mining machinery went over the winter road, and time after time there were pieces to tax the capacity of the sleighs. These ore cars, for instance, weigh a little over 13,000 pounds apiece, but individual units as heavy as 60,000 pounds were moved. Supplies of every type were also freighted north by tractor trains for construction of the new railway to Lynn Lake. Houses are pretty substantial things. You expect them to stay where you left them and certainly not to go wandering off across the country. But some folks have had the rare experience of stacking an address tag to their homes, then have them delivered 160 miles away. That's exactly what happened to a lot of people who decided to make the move north from Sherridon to the new nickel mine at Lynn Lake. The men who moved the 146 houses and other buildings are happy to report that not one of them ended up among the unclaimed baggage. Occasionally, the marshalling yard at Sherridon looked like a jumbled-up town as more and more buildings on sleighs kept coming in. Here, the Canadian Bank of Commerce stucco building, along with a two-story school annex, also await their turn. Special sets of sleighs were devised to carry these bulky loads, sleighs which are arranged to travel in a tricycle pattern. Once the buildings are ready for the trail, they are hustled down to the marshalling yard, there to meet other sleighs with miscellaneous loads. Here the sleighs are made up into trains. Three trains of sleighs make up a swing, supervised by one swing foreman, and it travels as a unit on the trail. Booth for the men where they eat and sleep, plus an extra sleigh for tractor fuel is basic equipment for each swing. Once the Sherridon branch of the Canadian Bank of Commerce decided to extend their service to the new community at Lynn Lake, the urge to get moving grew continually until the day the bank was finally hustled up the trail. That 90-day freighting season makes hurrying imperative, so the operation is always pressed for time. Thus, tractor freighters hit the trail as soon as their loads are ready. Every effort is made to maintain